Well, welcome back, viewers. Hellcat here. We're going on to the next part of the mission creation. Previously we've covered some initial setups and settings, and then following by how to get your troops into the game. So here we are now. There's our spawn-in template with all the loadouts done. Now we're going to cover a sensitive topic: death. Yes, it happens to all of us in Arma, whether it's you sticking your head around a corner and an AI taking it off for you, or your colleague running over you in one of the vehicles he's just acquired. Sometime you're going to die. So, unlike real life, we get multiple bites of the cherry. It would be a very short game if we all stepped out and died. So, respawning, the act of coming back into the game. As it stands, without any modification, you don't respawn. You would go back to the lobby screen and you can jump back in the game. Yeah, not very convenient. It all depends on the mission scenario and what assets you have available. At its simplest, you would basically, the Zeus controlling the game, if say for example you were clearing through a town before moving on to another one, a Zeus could put a respawn module at the edge of the town, so you've got a little jog back in to get into the fight. And then obviously as you move through the mission, the Zeus can lay down more and more respawn modules to coincide with where the action's taking place. That's fine if you don't have vehicles. It's the simplest method to do. I'm not going to cover that here. It's just a module in Zeus and you put down. But for more flexibility and to alleviate some of the issues, we use other methods. We'll get onto those shortly. First of all, we'll start with the basics on how to make it so you can respawn. So basically what you'll need to do first is look in attributes and multiplayer. You need to ensure that allow manual respawn is ticked. It's not entirely necessary, and normally respawn is set to disabled. Well, that's no good. So what we need to do, we want to respawn on a custom position, and you want the ability to select respawn position. None of those are necessary in there. One minor little point: this respawn delay, now depending on how your mission server is set, it may overwrite that parameter, but for when you want to do local testing and you're running multiplayer, if you don't select a respawn delay, because it does default to 0, to, I've done it to 5 seconds, Arma has this curious thing: you will respawn in the sea off the map, which is not a lot of good. So at least give it 5 seconds. It gives Arma server time to calculate all its stuff and get the respawn up. None of the other stuff's necessary for now. Now, if you remember from the first and second bits, when you're in the lobby screen, there was that annoying, all the roles are AI enabled. I sometimes use that if I want everything to spawn, but for the general, you would make sure that this enable AI is unticked and that little issue goes away. So just recap multiplayer: you need to set respawn on custom, select respawn position and give it a delay, and that's that job done. So okay, we've done the basic settings. Now we need somewhere to respawn to. That's very simple. You just go to systems, multiplayer, respawn position, and just bang it down. Now just one thing to note: it doesn't have to have a variable name, it's not that crucial, but this name, now the way it works, I'll just hover over it, it says respawn name visible in the respawn menu and on a map. Yeah, what it also does is respawn is a prefix, and you can put respawn followed by, I believe, like west, so that only blue form players will see that respawn, and east, and we don't do that. We want everything. So it's quite crucial to make sure that that is titled respawn, because it tells the system it's a respawn for you. We want type is inventory. The side we set to blue for because it's us. We want to show it to everyone, but we don't want notifications. We normally give it a, you could have multiples. I've not come across a mission or built a mission where you would really need to select a specific starting respawn. So we just quite commonly just call it something like base 1. So now at the very basics, we should respawn back at this location. Just a very quick test. Play it multiplayer. Pick somebody. You may notice that had a splash screen with a my logo and a name. We'll cover that in a different part, not necessary for now. It does get irritating with the load times of Eden editors sometimes. I say sometimes. Don't be alarmed at the error message at the bottom. It's just because I have various modules and some of the global settings overwrite that, so you just get an error. But this is just in Eden, it doesn't occur in the mission server. Okay, so we're here and somehow we get killed, so we're going to respawn. Ugh, down it goes. It always twitches. Yeah. So then you'll see the time to respawn and the respawn location that we've called respawn, and lo and behold it brings us back. That's, oh, and there, if you're quick enough, is your dead body. Messy. Super. Let's abort that, come back out. So it does get tiresome going through all the screens to do this. So there's a basic respawn. Now that's fine, but if the rest of your company is, say, attacking this island up here, that's a long walk. So you've just died and somehow you've got to get back all that way. Yeah, in this simple one, obviously that's not practical. As I say, suppose you were over at Telos attacking and you died, then your Zeus can put a respawn module by the town, so you don't have much running back in. So there are better ways, more preferred ways, and usually it occurs with the use of vehicles of some description, and we'll get onto that very, very shortly. Okay, so we've got a basic respawn now, and a rolling respawn from Zeus if that's what you want. Quite often in TFA missions we use vehicles, and the idea of that is that usually the command vehicle will be the respawn, the reinsertion vehicle. Is normally at the rear of the fight within close proximity, and this scenario works well when we have two platoons. If they're working close, then that's the method we'd use for this. There'll be another one, but that's yet to come. So what do we need to do? We need a it's called a vehicle respawn. So basically we will give our command element a vehicle. Let's see what we can give him. Usually you want something with a few, you know, elements of capacity. If there's only one slot and you get multiple people killed, that's not going to go down well. So okay, let's pick something really obscure and looks interesting. But we'll go for a warrior. So our command vehicle, our Spartan vehicle, and our reinsert vehicle is a warrior. And the simplest way on this is to basically link your respawn to that vehicle. So all you have to do is connect, sync to the warrior. So basically when you respawn, you'll end up in that vehicle. That's a nice simple way to do it, but we use a couple of more complicated methods because it gives flexibility. Usually we will have some boxes of supplies laid down at this initial spawn point, because Arma being Arma, you can suddenly find yourself respawning without your uniform or your primary weapon. So it's always a good idea to get that sorted out before you get back in the fight, which is why we use a two-step process, which we'll get onto shortly. So we have a warrior, a respawn called base 1, and it's set to with the prefix respawn. So let's see if this works. Okay, let's go in. Okay, so we've spawned in. There's the warrior. We die. Respawn. Ugh, down it goes. Wait for the respawn timeout. If you notice, the respawn icon here has got a vehicle in the middle. And there you go. You're in the vehicle. Get out. And there we are. Close to the fight. Now we're doing this at the base, but this vehicle could be several kilometres up the road with the rest of the company. Okay, get out of that. So that vehicle respawn at its very simplest. No variable names to contend with. It puts you straight back in the command vehicle. I say that works very well. But there's another method which we're going to cover shortly. This gives the options for rearming, replacing any lost kit. And we'll get to that in a short moment. Okay, we'll move on now to what we've described as the two-stage respawn. Now, what do we mean by two-stage? Basically, with two-stage, we introduce an intermediary object, which is interactable, that allows you to respawn into the command vehicle, the respawn, the reinsert vehicle. Now, how do we do this? Now, at the moment, we've got the respawn module linked directly to the vehicle, so wherever that is on the map, when you respawn, you will rejoin in it. But as I've explained, we like to have boxes of equipment because Arma being Arma, things go wrong. So how do we achieve this? First thing we do is get rid of the link with the vehicle, and we need to add a prop object. In this case we use flags. It doesn't have to be a flag, just about any object can be done, but we tend to use a specific one for no other reason than reasons. And there we go, flag ace black. So okay, we'll put down this flagpole, and the flagpole is a normal ace flagpole, but we're going to use a little bit of scripting now. So all you need to do is go into the attributes, and in the init insert this code. Now basically what this does is it adds an action, an interactable action to the flagpole that allows you to scroll wheel and select options. What we're going to do is, because this is a global one, we're going to make it a TFA reinforcement. Now this is only the text that appears to the eye. There's a bit of formatting, and the text will say move to TFA reinforcement location. It's followed by a player call. It calls a function called moving cargo, and it basically places that player into the designated object, and we're going to call this one TFA reinforcement. Now notice this has an underscore because it's going to be used as a variable. So TFA reinforcement, that is the object we're going to spawn the player into, so we need to remember that tag. This set flag texture, basically this being the current object, set flag texture, and you can customize and put your own in, which we call TFA JPEG. Where the mission file's located, we have a load of on our system we have a load of ancillary scripting. We usually have a couple of directories, one for scripts and one for media, and under the media we have images, so you can put any custom images you like and apply them to objects. So in this case, this set flag texture will look in the folder media images, pull out the TFA JPEG, and that's what it will display on the flag. That's that for the flag. So now the vehicle, still got flag selected. I love Eden, thank you. Let's try that. Wait for the attributes to come up. There we go. So basically there's the vehicle, and all we need to do with that is give it the variable TFA underscore enforcement. So that is the unique variable name for that vehicle. It's TFA reinforcement, and that means that that scripting in the flag, when it does the move player, it moves player to the object with the identifier as shown in, which is TFA reinforcement. So how does this work in practice now? So we'll jump into multiplayer. Okay. Wait for it to do all its stuff. I seem to be spending half of my life waiting for Arma to either load or change things. Okay, so we've got the respawn vehicle, the reinsert, and there's the flag. So what will happen this time? This time we'll respawn. Down he goes, twitching away. And if you notice now, there's no vehicle symbol in the respawn, it just says respawn. And when we do, we're back exactly where we left off. Now bear in mind, your colleagues can be 10 kilometres up the road. This vehicle will be with them. So how do we get to it? So as I said earlier, we normally leave a load of boxes because Arma being Arma, it can remove kit. So we leave a selection so people can run up, get themselves battle fit again, and go to the flagpole. And you'll notice it highlights and says move to TFA reinforcement. Scroll wheel the mouse, select, and there you are. You're in the reinsert vehicle, and all you need to do is get out, and you're back in the action. So that works very well when you've got a company, the company's close together, and the Spartan, Command Vic, Reinsert Vic, whatever you destined to call it, is close by. So now we're going to move on, because as I say, in TFA we run 2 platoons, and they can be at different points of the map. So just readjust a few things and we'll get onto that one shortly. Okay, so now in the heat of battle, when we die, we can get back in the action via the use of a respawn vehicle. Great. Now this works fine if the company is operating close together, but there are missions where our 2 platoons can be on opposite sides of the map. So where is this Spartan vehicle? Well, who knows, depends where he's decided to go. But you can guarantee that when you respawn, you're going to have a long run to get back in the action. So what we can do is we can split the respawns. So we'll just move these out the way, and in the best blue Peter tradition, here's one I prepared earlier. This is basically identical. The only difference this time is I've set up 2. So the text reads move to hotel reinforcement, hotel being one of the platoons, and move the player into hotel reinforcement, and it's got the hotel flag. So make a note of that, hotel reinforcement. And if you notice, still got the flag selected because even editor tries to do this to me. But as you can see from the black box, that has got a variable of hotel reinforcement, which this flag knows that's the vehicle you send them to. And basically that one the same. The only difference is it has the in the scripting it has alpha reinforcement, which is tied to this vehicle via its variable name. So let's see that in action. We're in, and 2 vehicles, 2 flags, one for Alpha, one for Hotel. There are our company platoon flags. And around here there may be your resupply boxes, so you can kit yourself out with any missing stuff. I'm not going to do a respawn because I'll just end up exactly where I am and it won't show a thing, so we'll move on. Right, I'm in Alpha platoon, so if I go to this flag which says Alpha reinforcement, and I respawn in the Alpha Platoon leader's vehicle. If I'm a hotel platoon member, I can go to this flag and I end up in my own platoon's respawn vehicle. And as I say, these vehicles could be on opposite side of the map, so having this split two-stage method makes it nice and convenient for getting troops respawned. So I think basically now there's only a few more things to cover, and in a moment I shall talk about disasters. Yep, they do happen. Basically the disaster being your respawn vehicle gets destroyed. Okay, so back to this, and we'll be onto that one in a moment. So what do we mean by disasters? Well, it could be a case of your officer commanding of the night driving the respawn vehicle, does something extremely dumb and gets himself shot up by anti-tank weaponry, but more likely armour is armour. Vehicles don't travel well, things happen, vehicles flip, you can run over a rabbit and end up 300 yards down the road with a destroyed vehicle. That's no real use for respawning at this point, because you're going to respawn at base and it's a very long run. Fortunately, it's very simple to get round, and basically again, just get rid of the ace. In the systems and the modules, we're looking at again at multiplayer, and you'll see one called vehicle respawn. Basically, if you place a vehicle respawn, you could do variable, you don't need to do, you need a delay, because basically if people have been injured when that vehicle has blown up and they're close by, they don't really want a vehicle respawning on them. So to give them a bit of a break, usually give it a 10-second. There is another one. The position is where it was destroyed. So basically you want it to respawn where it was destroyed. And the wreck delete with an explosion effect. I would just say be careful with the explosion effect. You could be safe and just go delete. We'll try and emulate this anyway. Okay, we'll leave it as explosion. Forced respawn. No. You only need delay and position where it was destroyed. So that basically now, that vehicle respawn needs to be tied to that vehicle. So we sync it to boop. Wherever that vehicle is on the map, then you will that's where you'll respawn to once you've been by the flag. So let's see what happens with that. Let's see if we can simulate what's going to occur. Right, let's have a look. I want somebody. An 80 rifleman sounds good to me. Okay. Okay, there we are. We've spawned in. There's our commander's respawn vehicle. And stupidly, he's let himself get shot. So let's get it lined up. 50 meters, good enough for legit broadside. Clear backblast. Rockets out. Okay, so these British warriors are a little tougher than I thought. Yeah, well, serves me right for trying to take on a British warrior with the 136. However, in the best tradition of Zeusy sneakiness, okay, nuke the reinforcement vehicle, take 2. Oh, bye-bye reinsert vehicle. That's not good. There we go, give it 10 seconds, and the vehicle's back. And just to confirm that it still does its job, and there we are. All nicely, safely protected against stupidity, whichever form it comes into. Now obviously you can do the same with the other 2 vehicles. We do this primarily for the fact that respawning back in way away from the action is not fun for anybody. So now we have several methods of respawning upon death. Now there's absolutely nothing to stop you saving these as composites. You might save the 2-platoon version as one composite and a Spartan respawn, a command vehicle respawn as another. It doesn't matter the fact that the vehicles on the composite will be these, because the good thing about Arma is when you can get it selected and Eden. It wants to play silly buggers with me now. There we go. It's very easy. If you know what vehicles you're using, you can go through and you can change it to whatever you like. Very simple. Like that. And there we go. So if you save those as compositions, it saves you time with the scripting, and it saves you time with the linking things. You may want to link a vehicle respawn. In fact, you will want to link a vehicle respawn to the other vehicles as well, if you're doing it in the platoon, because you need somewhere to respawn. So that's pretty much that for respawning. Just a couple of things just to tidy up before we leave this part, and that's to do with all the ancillary stuff. You notice you use textures in the flag. In our TFA method, you have your mission SQM, but we have all these other things. These are all to do with setting up parameters for running on the server. There's some other scripts. You can add scripts, and media folders used quite a lot, because that's where we keep all our images. There's the TFA flag. You've got the Alpha Hotel and all the various squads, and a few ancillaries if you want to play silly, like the duck. But normally if you want to embed graphics, that's where they would go, in the media images folder. I tend to find that when I'm creating missions, I will copy the entire contents. This is before I start creating. Post it in the mission name, but not the mission SQM. Obviously you don't want that copied across. Loadouts, talking about armor and the fact that sometimes you can spawn in, you can be missing your primary weapon or your uniform. We try to avoid that. We have a couple of scripts. One is on player killed, and basically what this does is it sets this variable saved loadout, and it performs a get unit loadout on you, and that's when you're killed. And on respawn, this has a few others, this is one that was found by somebody, it basically removes all your stuff, clears your item from your backpack, removes it, and then it calls this set unit loadout with the player get variable saved loadout that was just created earlier. That way you should respawn with what you had at the time. So if you've lost like your AT and you're killed and respawn, you'll still be missing it, which is different to the other settings that can be used, which will give you the base loadout at spawning. That's just the way we work. It works for us, it's been tried and tested. A lot of this stuff is way beyond me. I wouldn't even dare. The only thing I will mention is it's the description ext, and where you had that splash screen, it gives you the opportunity to put down the author, the name of the mission, a little descriptor underneath, and any images. You don't need to change anything else in the description ext, just the author, onload name, onload mission, load screens, and overview picture. And that's it, it's dead simple. So that's the that's respawning covered. Got plenty of methods now to play with. These are vehicles, but sometimes we do it where you will spawn onto a reinsert helicopter. Sometimes you may just respawn at base and have to call in the helicopter, or you may have a flag set to spawn on board the helicopter. And this is when we've got some a dedicated pilot for the night. So that's respawning. That's really the most tedious bit of mission building covered now. Now we're going to get onto the interesting stuff, and that's putting stuff down, building your mission. So go and have a break now. We'll have a think about that, and I shall see you in the next part. Bye for now.